top priorities for the new Congress. I'm Jill Horner. This is Comcast Newsmakers. With me this hour is United States Senator Chris Coons. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Jill.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the top priorities and your priorities and what they mean for Delaware. Let's talk a little bit about job creation, because this is on the minds of people, not just here in Delaware, but people across the country.
Well, I'm really hoping that in the 112th Congress, which has just begun, we're really going to focus on job creation, on getting the American economy back on track, and on laying the groundwork not just for a recovery, but for a renewed strength in the American economy. In my view, that's going to require a focus on manufacturing. Innovative manufacturing is something that's been the backbone of the American middle class, that's helped make us a strong and sustained economy in the last century. We've lost way too much ground in manufacturing. We are still the world's leading manufacturer, but we lost in the last decade 3 million jobs in manufacturing. There are things we can and should be doing in tax policy, trade policy, education and training, in fighting for fair trade, and in building better partnerships between the private sector and the public sector that will, I think, put a floor under manufacturing and help us grow towards a more positive future.
So let's focus on the specific types of manufacturing. In the past, many people were employed in the auto industry in Delaware, but what's the future of manufacturing here? Are there certain industries that you can work to attract?
I do actually think there is some prospect of renewed automotive manufacturing in Delaware. Fisker Automotive is on track, I believe, to reopen in the former GM Boxwood Road site to manufacture plug-in electric vehicles for both domestic and export sales. But there's lots of other companies, large and small, that are manufacturing everything from, we've heard a lot about green energy, the alternative energy space. We've got folks who are doing manufacturing in hydrothermal, in wind, in photovoltaic. I'm actually touring a composite plant up in this coming week. I recently had a chance to tour ILC Dover, which manufactures a lot of different things that are used in pharmaceutical manufacturing and in national security and defense. If we give folks the opportunity, if we create the regulatory and the tax environment, and we help deliver a qualified workforce, I'm convinced that Delaware manufacturers, American manufacturers, can renew the word, invented in America, made in Delaware. And I really think that's key to our having a strengthened and revitalized middle class.
Does it also require a focus on a more regional approach to manufacturing, cooperating with different states? And does your position in the Senate allow you to now do that?
I hope it will. I'm joining the Manufacturing Caucus, and I'm meeting with the senators from the states in our region to try and talk about regional cooperation. I think this is a part of the country where that's particularly important. You can be in 3 other states in 20 minutes from Wilmington, Delaware, and there's almost no other place in America where that's the case. And we need to be cooperating, not competing with each other, because really our competition is in Shanghai and Bombay and Frankfurt and other parts of the world, not in the states really just east or south of us. I do think that federally we need a more proactive policy that gets past a state-to-state competition and helps us compete as a nation on the international scale.
In terms of that competition, though, and this is something that we talked about during the campaign, you mentioned the idea of education and having an educated, qualified workforce. Delaware was one of the recipients of Race to the Top money. How are we faring? Where do we stand in terms of developing that workforce to be ready for these jobs?
I think we're making progress in that. I've actually recently met with Delaware Secretary of Education and spoken with the governor. The United States Secretary of Education, Arne Duncan, is also someone I've had some positive early meetings to talk about the Elementary and Secondary Education Act and its reauthorization. Under the previous administration, the ESEA was reauthorized in a bill called No Child Left Behind. That led to some stringent measures, some tests that allow us to know which schools are doing well and how our kids are doing, but it was frankly too narrowly focused on a high-stakes, once-a-year test. We need to be making progress on connecting employers, parents, communities, and schools, and helping teachers teach not to the test, but to the skills that our kids are going to need to be successful in the 21st century. And I think that means engaging parents and potential employers more regularly, more closely in the development of curriculum and of teaching standards, and in supporting and encouraging kids in schools so they see the relevance of the education that they're getting.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
We've been talking with United States Senator Chris Coons. I'm Jill Horner.